started with imperialism. Okay, pretty important idea, the domination of certain areas of the world by America. So the very first thing I want you to get down is these two definitions, and believe this is the very first slide. Just so you know, I'm kind of working without a net. I don't have the notes in front of me. I left them at school. So if I say something's important, make sure you get it down. We're just going to kind of work without a net on this one. But imperialism, here's the definition. Pause it, get it down. Now, imperialism by definition is the economic and political domination by a strong nation over a weaker nation. I want you to take and I want you to circle some things. Economic, what symbol do you think I want you to put above that? A dollar sign. And political, circle that, put an arrow beside it. Government domination. Of course, our government is democracy, by a strong nation over a weaker nation. Now, with that, when you kind of think back in American history, think about who used to be the weaker nation. It used to be us, right? The strong nation used to be Great Britain. But now the tables have turned and we're the strong nation. And we are going to be looking to dominate other weaker nations economically and politically for our gain. Now, there's another definition that you might also need to know. This one's not as important, but it's still pretty important, and that's protectorate. And circle the root word. It's pretty easy. Protect. And this is when an imperial power is allowed the local rulers to stay in power. We protect them, and we basically just, get what we want from them. It's a protectorate, okay? Now, pause this, get it down. Pretty important here. Definition of Anglo-Saxonism. Y'all remember me talking about WASPs, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants? Y'all remember WASPs? Okay, basically rich white people. With that, Anglo-Saxonism is having the qualities and traits regarded as distinctly of the English or of the white Anglo-Saxon, okay, race, and there is a belief of superiority back then of the Anglo-Saxonism characteristics. So Anglo-Saxonism, out beside this slide, I'd like you to go ahead and write WASP in capital letters, W-A-S-P. That's what we're talking about here. And this image is actually really kind of a cool one. It's showing the American flag, and then the flag is wrapping its red stripes all around the world. This idea that WASP needed to dominate the world, it was economical because we wanted money. It was political because we believe democracy is the best. But it is also a little bit social, feeling that we are superior to other races and that we need to, quote unquote, civilize. And I'd like you to write that up beside this slide. Civilize the rest of the world, kind of like we wanted to do with the immigrants and the Native Americans with the Dawes Act, etc. Now, pause this, get it down. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. Imperialism, it's nice that we talk about government. It's nice that we talk about civilizing the world, but you want to know what it comes down to? What does it always come down to? Money. Yes? So let's talk about this. The need for more markets. Now, first thing I want you to do is I want you to look at the word market. Put an arrow out beside it if it isn't already there. Okay? Market. What do you do at a market? You buy and you sell. Well, here's the deal. If you think about it, in the late 1800s, what we just got done with, the Gilded Age, the Industrial Revolution, our productivity created surpluses. Circle the word surplus. Arrow, more than we need, okay? Industrial Revolution in particular, mass production, tons of stuff, more than we need. What do you do when you have more than you need? You sell it. So now we need access to foreign markets. This is going to cause us to want to expand. So what do? We acquire, or we have the acquisition, good vocab word, okay, acquisition of new lands. Not only does bigger mean better, okay, sorry, but it does when it comes to imperialism. But it says it's going to increase glory and prestige of America. It will grow our economy, and it will get us more involved in the rest of the world. And this is the areas that we're going to be looking at. You might want to underline it. Latin America, Hawaii, and Samoa. Basically the Pacific area. Now, there's one more place that we need to talk about. We're going to kind of jump back in time a little bit, and that's Alaska. I didn't teach it in 1867 because we were a little caught up in Reconstruction and it didn't really fit. Like, hey, we're talking about Jim Crow laws. And then Alaska, it doesn't fit. So I wait and I teach you it right now. Okay, but Alaska, otherwise known as Seward's Folly, because the guy who bought it was Secretary of State William Seward, was formally transferred to the United States in 1867. Circle that. Advantages of Alaska: it's a stopover to China. It had gold. I need you to out beside gold. Circle the gold. Gold, gold, gold. Circle it, circle it, circle it. And write Klondike Gold Rush. Klondike, like the Klondike bar. Like, what would you do for a Klondike bar? Okay. And also, nowadays, oil. Big money sign by oil. And out beside oil, I want you to write ANWAR. ANWAR. Maybe Google that. Maybe a little bit extra credit if anybody can tell me what ANWAR is, okay? But the best thing about Alaska is that this guy, Seward, William Seward, arranged to buy it from Russia, might want to underline that, for only $7.2 million. Everybody said he was stupid. They said, you're an idiot. You're making a mistake. A folly, by the way, is a mistake. So they called it Seward's Folly. They made fun of this guy. And they were like, you're so dumb to want to buy Arctic tundra for $7.2 million. Well, guess who's laughing now? Alaska is worth so much money, and we bought it for $7.2 million. Pretty good deal. But overall, and I know y'all don't have this, so just take a look at it, the commercial and business interests of imperialism, look at the investments. End of the Civil War, 1869, we only had investments in millions, $100 million invested other places. By 1907, we would have $2.5 billion invested in other places around the world, foreign investments. So as we grow in imperialism, we grow with investments. And that's what we're looking at. Take a look at this one. Again, you don't have it, but look at it though, okay? I'm not kidding you because I might quiz you over it. Okay? Commercial business interests, foreign trade. You know what an export is. Export is when you send it out. Import is when you bring it in. Exports from 1870 to 1914, started of World War I right here, okay, are going to grow twice as much as your imports will. So we are sending more stuff out or in, you think? Out. That's because we made more during the Industrial Revolution, then we start trading it when we have foreign markets. Now, pause this one, get it down, put a star by it. It's huge. All right. Military strategic interests. You need to know the name of this book. In fact, let's go ahead and talk about the bottom of the slide first. I have a picture here. This guy's name's Alfred T. Mahane. He writes a book called The Influence of Sea Power on History. Okay, Influence of Sea Power on History. And that sea power basically is what he says is going to get America in the door of world domination. Now, with that, okay, there's an old saying, and I might want you to put it out beside there if you have a second to, okay? And it says, he who controls the ocean controls the world. And so what Mahane says in this book, and remember, literature always is an interesting way to look at history, is he says, basically, I have about 5 things that I think America needs to do to control the ocean, to control the world. And this kind of, I'll be honest with you, I see this as a to-do list for America. Like, I love to-do lists. I always make to-do lists. So basically, to do to be a world power is, this is what he says. You have to have a 2-ocean navy. Think about it. Do we have a 2-ocean navy now? Crap, we got like a 7-ocean navy now. He said you need to modernize, underline modernize, our navy from wood to steel. Did Carnegie help with that? Absolutely. He also said you acquire possessions in the Pacific for coaling and resupplying. Oh, what's in the middle of the Pacific right here? In the smack dab middle of the Pacific? What's in the middle of the Pacific? Oh, just a little thing called Hawaii. Okay. Then he says acquire islands in the Caribbean. Oh, come over here. Do we have Puerto Rico? Yes. Oh, so we have islands in the Caribbean. And he said build a canal in Central America. Here's Central America right here. Ooh, have you ever heard of the Panama Canals? Did we do everything on his to-do list? There you go. Mahane said, do that and you will be a world power. We did it. Guess what? We were a world power. And we are a world power. Now, the next one is a guy named Henry Cabot Lodge. Pause this, get it down. Not very much to get down. Just listen. All right, so Henry Cabot Lodge, he's actually, I need you to write out beside his name, he's going to be a senator. Okay, he's going to write something called our blundering foreign policy. Blundering's not a good thing. Okay, and he writes it in 1895. He thinks we need to get bigger. You might also want to write out beside this slide, he's something we call an expansionist. Keyword, expand. Okay, what I want you to do, I want you to read this quote real quick. Okay, and I want you to annotate it. And then if you look at it, you will see all of the aspects of imperialism in it. So pause it, read it, annotate it. He says, small states are of the past, so we need to be large. He said, the nations are rapidly absorbing other nations are the future. He says it's movement which makes for civilization and the advancement of the race. He says, and if we want to be this world power, we must not fall out of the line of march. So basically, keep up with everybody else, expand, because small states are in the past. We need to be a big state. Expansionist. He's going to be one of the leading imperialists and expansionists there is. And one place that really helped us expand is Hawaii. So pause this, get it down. Hawaii, Queen Liliuokalani, okay, is going to be the monarch that's in charge of Hawaii. Hawaii had become a protectorate in 1849 before the Civil War, but what I really want you to take a look at is I want you to take a look at the placement of Hawaii. And it says major shipping routes. Is Hawaii going to be a motherlode of an economic acquisition? Oh my gosh, it's going to mean so much to us. So why do we want Hawaii? Pause this, get it down. Well, first of all, it's a stop between China and the U.S. You want to talk about making some money? China's it. Population, right? In 1820s, missionaries from New England had discovered the climate, and the soil there was also really good to grow sugarcane. American whaling ships had started operating out of Hawaii, and it was using it as their base. In 1875, there was a trade agreement with a sugarcane tariff, and overall, we had this perfect agreement to use something called, I know you're going to have heard of this before, maybe Pearl Harbor, circle star right here. So Uncle Sam grabs Hawaii, and I love this cartoon right here. Might even ask you about it on a quiz, so make sure you look at it. You have all of these places: Canada, Mexico, Hawaii, or Samoa, Cuba. But which one is falling into his hat? It says Uncle Sam catches the ripe fruit. Hawaii is going to be the biggest and the best, and we owe it all to somebody named Sanford B. Dole. Now, Sanford B. Dole, pause it, get it down, was a businessman in Hawaii. He proclaims the Republic of Hawaii in 1894. He actually had owned a ton of land. I know you've heard that Dole before, Dole pineapples, okay? And he was one of the original planters in Hawaii. And what happened is he was threatened by a tariff in Liliuokalani's policies, and he had created the Dole Fruit Company, and so he reciprocates to this tariff. It was called the McKinley Tariff, and he backed an uprising against the Liliuokalani, and what happens is basically Dole becomes the head of Hawaii, and he's an American businessman, so he opens the door for America to annex Hawaii, and that means to incorporate into the country and state. American annexation of Hawaii happens in 1898. Here is the picture. You can see great beard there, by the way. To the victor belongs the spoils, and we officially make Hawaii part of this country. And let me tell you something, guys. I've been to Hawaii 2 times. Here'd be a good quiz question to see if you were listening. And the number one thing I remember my parents taking me to was the Dole plantation for pineapples. It's so weird, but the number one thing there, oh my gosh, it was like a religious experience, was the Dole ice cream whip that they sold there. It was like the best thing in the world. I swear, I'm going to Hawaii. That's why you got to get a college education. Go to the Dole plantation in Hawaii, forget about the fact that he overthrew people and kicked them out of their land, and eat the ice cream. It's delicious. Oh, here's a good EOC prep question. Maybe you might see it again. Pause it if you want to see if you can get it right. Let's go on, though, to Cuba. Okay, first of all, we have McKinley in office, okay? Cuba was under harsh Spanish rule. Seen as a natural expansion, it's only 90 miles away. So where do you go to rule? People that are closest, right? You don't go like halfway around the world and it's like, hey, let's start here. You start with what's closest. The U.S. has imposed a sugar tariff because of the economic chaos. This caused the economy to fall apart. Americans' concerns rose. We had about $50 million in sugar invested there. You might want to circle or highlight that right there. And exports to the U.S. plummeted. So we decided we need to do something about Cuba. So, look at this cartoon. Might look a little interesting. You may have seen it already. But the Spanish were misruling Cuba, and they were misruling our money. Okay? So what happens? The Spanish-American War. Pause this, get it down. Listen. The USS Maine had been an American ship in Havana Harbor. It had been put there to make sure that we could protect our interests. All of a sudden, in February of 1898, it exploded. Well, we don't know why it exploded, but we blamed Spain because we wanted to get in there anyways due to a thing called yellow journalism, the exaggeration of conditions. And so this starts what we call the Spanish-American War. We send in troops. Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders in particular is one of them. And what ends up happening is a 6-month war that really, I'll be honest with you, is not that bad, But what we get out of it, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. So it becomes what we call the imperialist war.